We love to talk about what everyone else is doing, and society is like this, and society is like that, and oftentimes using ourselves as the example, but we're speaking, projecting outwards. But in this process, we're actually in a very quiet, in a very non-assuming way, beginning to take responsibility for the choice that we just made. And the choice that we make is actually creating the step that comes next. And then after that, and then after that, and then after that. So if we can become comfortable with the simple fact that potentially life is the way that it is because we've chosen it to be this way. If we can just accept it as an exercise. And I know it's difficult sometimes to hear that. It's difficult because it feels like someone's challenging you. It's difficult because as a survival mechanism within the brain, we don't want to be wrong, we have to be right. It's a part of building fires and making sure saber-toothed tigers don't attack. It's kind of all part of the same organization of the brain. But if we can just rest with that for a moment and realize that choice is diverse, meaning that if we chose one way, we can then choose the other way. And if we just rest with that, not even make any clear decisions on what would be the next move, but just simply rest with it. So let's do that now. And simply becoming comfortable with the fact that we are here because of the choices that we made. Not painting it into a positive or even a negative, because obviously all of you are incredibly blessed. So you chose correct in many ways. And now seeing within yourself that choice is diverse. So it's not static. It's quite dynamic. And there's an experience inside oneself that is truly the only experiencer. And there's another aspect within oneself which produces the answers when we ask the question. And can you acquaint your mind, your thought, your emotion to those two aspects of who you are? So this deep seat of self generally is just the experiencer. So there's no real dialogue that's occurring. And then that aspect of who we are, which we propose questions to, and we wish to receive the answer. And I'm taking you through this simple exercise because now ideally, the next time you're faced with a choice, you will begin to recognize the voice, which is your correct path. And many times the voice of the correct path is a little bit softer, more quiet than the rest, a little bit more easygoing. And it's sometimes challenging to stick to it because of that reason. It's not seen as being fun right away. It's seen as being a little bit boring, whatever it may be. But beginning to visit this place and honor the experiences that incur is then to begin to forge a relationship which is going to take you into the quality of mind which is steady, which is calm, which is relaxed, which is consistent. And that consistency that you see at the beginning and the consistency that you see at the end is then the development of the relationship that takes you to such a depth of stillness. And that depth of stillness is the authenticity of the mind, which is then transcending all thought, transcending all emotion, transcending all personality, even transcending the quality of who you are, which you ask the question to. And within that quality of space, we begin to incur true, authentic discernment. And that discernment is a pivotal point within one's life, to discern. And you can keep your eyes closed or open, doesn't matter. Anybody have any questions so far? I'm framing it in this way, and you can ask a question at any time. But I'm framing it in this way because for me, the most important part to this relationship that is existing within one's mind is the ability to begin to gain balance. The ability to gain the authentic experience of balance. And balance is maintained through our ability on a consistent level to make choices. Choices which is congruent to that which you see and feel as being the most authentic. Like this tracksuit. Like this is authentic to the point where I don't know if you'll find another one. Does this make sense? Yeah. Yeah, the tracksuit, very good. And everything else. One might be more easy to understand than the other. That was very good. Do you remember, Yarrow, the exact sutra? No. We are all in a specific place, a very specific place within our mind, within our emotion. And that combination of mental, emotional development is painting your personality, this outpicturing to the world. And it's perfect the way that it is. Let's just know that. There's nothing wrong at all. It's actually really perfect. But the human mind is something that is a bit of a mystery. It's a genius all of its own. And hardwired into the human brain is these simple questions. Who am I? Where am I going? And why am I here? And we are not able, as human beings, to get away from these three very simple but incredibly profound questions. And the pursuit to the answer has not ever stopped, as long as the human being has been around. So, where we start to really find the clear answer is in the space between. The space between that which is generating information. Because that which is generating from a bank that we already have access to. And we must get to a place where we no longer know any longer. We can no longer infer the answer or intelligently rationalize that which we are experiencing. We have to get way beyond all of that so that then we begin to learn. If we are in a position where we continuously have the answer again and again and again, then this is a programmed mechanism. And what meditation does is it takes you to the boundary of your reality, right to the boundary. And beyond that threshold is the complete unknown. And there you sit and peer into that which you no longer know what is there. And from that position, we begin to then receive information, but it's brand new levels of information. And when I say levels, I'm literally meaning levels, vertical levels of information, up and down levels of information. That's increasing the frequency of your physical body. So on a cellular level, we begin to vibrate at a higher level. So the eyes become brighter. When you breathe in, the energy that you're breathing in actually feels different. And we get hints of this when we do a physical posture practice or a breathing practice. But this is times 1,000 when you begin to enter into a consistent meditation practice. And that's where the answers are lying to all of those very deep, earnest questions coming from the human being. So if you go there again and again to what seems to be the edge of the experience of your reality, it becomes the known now experience of your reality. It's no longer the edge because you've gone there so many times. But then the boundary just then moves. So now you are now reaching even deeper, even further, even higher. So the boundary keeps moving, which means you are evolving, you are developing. And this question, who am I, where am I going, and why am I here, also keeps pushing. So we are actually growing. We are growing consciousness. So that means singularly, as an individual, but also collectively. We are growing consciousness. We are understanding increasingly more and more as to why we're here. We are understanding where we come from, and we're understanding where we're going. So there's those two choices, right? There's that of this programmed, stuck mind, looping all of the time from one chaotic moment to the next, wondering why. And then there's the other, which instead of wondering, actively engaging in the answer. And the answer is found in the in-betweens, in between thought, in between emotion, in between reaction. So if you react, then it's already defined. But if something occurs, an emotion arises, a thought formation happens, and you do not react, you respond with an observation, you just simply watch it, this is now the in-between quality. And the more and more it passes you by, the increased insight we begin to have as to why. So it's a very pleasurable experience I'm talking about, like this tracksuit. Very pleasing to the eyes, even very stimulating to the senses. Like this combination, these three here, Rajas, Tamas, Sattva. No, but it's a very pleasurable experience. And the pleasingness of your ability to engage the in-between comes through the in and out breath. Feel that. You feel that? Breathe again. Right? Now do that again. So know that what you're breathing in is an unknown substance. Known to a certain point, and the rest we have no idea. Science has no idea how, because I've asked neurologists, I've communicated with many doctors of many kinds. They have no idea how you experience that sensation. When you inhale, they have no idea how it happens. But what's really incredible is that it does not stop. So that sensation keeps changing, increasing in subtlety, in strength, in height, in depth. It keeps going. So now when you start to couple that with your body, so breathe again. Now you feel the sensation. Now register the fact that you've just had this sensation and see if you can maintain the vibration which has just occurred. Is that possible? And do it again. And do it 10 more times. So now if we can start to register that on the physical body sensation, does it not feel like elation? Does it feel like bliss? So now if we can observe that with the mind and start to accept the fact that the mind is actually responding and transforming. Your mental experience has just gone through a micro movement of transformation. That you have successfully moved away from that experience, sensation, and state that you are just in into a new one. Yes? So now that is actually the template for meditation. This is body, this is breath, and this is mind. The three now working together as one succinct unit. And notice how you are breathing, the observation of the breath, the sensation of the breath, and the retention of it is bypassing thought and bypassing emotion. You're not thinking about it, you're experiencing it. It's not thinking, it's experiencing. It's not an emotional response, it's just simply is. And then the emotion could get involved and say, wow, this is very beautiful, and all sort of commentary starts to come through. The mind starts to attach images. But with every breath, we want to let go of that emotional connection, that thought formation connection, and just keep moving into that which is in between it all. Now remembering, we're not negating the fact that we think, we're not negating the fact that we have an emotion, but we are not using it as the hub of our communication. We're going to this mysterious unknown place again and again and again and again and again. But within the unknown is where we find the deepest knowings of who we are. And that might sound funny, but it's just really that true. So people go on the odyssey, right? They go on the pilgrimage, they go on the journey, they go into the forest, they go into the caves. They get onto a sailboat and sail into the middle of the ocean. It's always going into the unknown to find who you are. So the frontier really is inner space, not outer space. Inner space is the final frontier of the human being. Inner space is where we find ourselves. Outer space is not where we find ourselves. Outer space is what is creating all the complexity. No matter how we attempt to put it together, it seems to just incur in the same result of complex misunderstandings. So the opposite of that is simplifying into the most basic, like a Taoist, like a Buddhist monk, like the yogis, like the Franciscan monks, like them all. All of them go into the tradition of simplification. Now, simplification does not mean anything has to change for you other than your perception of the reality. And this is all pointing towards meditation. So I'm not telling you how to live your life. I'm not telling you how to think. I'm not attempting to tell you what is right and what is wrong. I'm just simply talking about meditation. That's it. And all of that which we've been talking about, I can guarantee you happens within 5 seconds of you closing your eyes. All this stuff happens like a kaleidoscope. So the way out is to look between. The sounding board of it all is that at the beginning you find this consistency, and at the end the consistency is still there. This is the dynamic stillness. This is the quality of space must become the same. If it is not the same, then this is the oscillations. And we want to be rid of the oscillations to get to the root of what is going to become your meditation practice. Now the result of it is transformation within your life for sure. Because the operating system begins to change. Even if all you see is chaos when you close your eyes, it doesn't even matter. Because drop by drop, you are filling your experience with the vibration of meditation. You are doing it. Just like if you put one foot in front of the next, most definitely you're going to be walking to the door, whether you like it or not. If you put one foot in front of the next, you're going to be walking. It doesn't even matter. Meditation is the same thing. If you sit down, close your eyes, and you make the intention that you're going to sit in meditation, and all you want to experience is the beautiful quality of space of nothingness, then that's what's happening, whether you like it or not. And it's that simple. It's that glorious. Now, I don't want this to be confusing. I want it to make really good, clear sense, because meditation should make really good, clear sense. So if you ever have a question, we should ask lots of questions. If you ever have an issue, like you disagree, then we should talk about it, because this is the mind attempting to understand itself. And the mind attempting to understand the mind is sometimes not very easy. It's sometimes quite challenging. And that's why you would come to a meditation class, to learn how to meditate, which in a sense is just learning how to relate to your own mind. But as you can see from this suit, I am generally a pretty clear communicator. So I understand if you don't have any big questions right now. Yes? Yes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That is the whole practice. That's the practice of meditation. It's gaining the ability to become consistent. Just simply becoming consistent. Becoming consistent with your focus, with your concentration. And any blip, so any blip of noise, of sound, of thought, we just do not even want it. We want that pure witness. So if you were to take on the exercise of who am I, and if you can keep defining who you are, well then that's not it yet. But when you start to run out of answers, and you start to run out of dialogue, you start to run out of sound, then you get closer and closer to that pure witness experience. And that's power. Like the pure witnessing experience is actually where all great inventions come from. So this quality of space that meditation is taking you is the golden idea that you've been waiting for. That one that's just going to set everything flying. It's in that space. It is the witness, is there. And that witness is just emanating. And it's a constant vibration. But what it needs to pass through is like a mesh of emotion, of thought. And that's what we have to clear out. So a lot of the meditation practice is clearing all of that out so that then you can just emanate pure expression. And that pure expression is creation. That creation is what we all want. You want it, I'm sure of it. You would not be inhaling and exhaling if you didn't want to create. Because by you inhaling and exhaling, you're creating life. So you are co-creating this whole experience by inhaling and exhaling. So that's the simplicity of it, right? Simply you are that, which is glorious. So that then in whatever you're doing, no matter what, you become a heightened version of. A heightened version of. Mm-hmm. So I'm not saying we all have to be monks, but this is a meditation class. So we are all going to become incredibly proficient at the art. Yes?
And then how do you translate that in your day-to-day activities on engaging in the other reality? Because it's so distracting.
Yeah. Well, it's actually a self-resolving tool, because the more consistent we become with our meditation, then if the brain is organized like this, for instance, then sitting in meditation is unwinding that particular pattern and taking it into the authentic experience. So that then in our day-to-day, we actually operate at the authenticity instead of the pattern. So it's self-regulating. It's just simply doing. Very, very easy. Yes. hmm That's right, because it's the nervous system. So we respond to our environment. So a lot of it is unverbal, right? Like, you're having a response. Your nervous system is firing, is communicating to the brain. The brain organizes into a wow factor. And you gain the opportunity to experience that sensation of wow. So the physiology, that's right. So the neuroplasticity of it, the plasticity of the whole conversation is so if the brain is organized in a particular way, and you always run down the same track, and you don't really care for it any longer, the thought, even in the recent past, was that, well, this tough luck. This is just the way that it's going to be for you. But yogic process, also all the other wisdom traditions have been working on the fact that no, it's all rewirable. Everything can be changed. Science is now saying, yeah, it's true, actually. We're not hardwired in that way. It's just things can be changed. So everything can be changed. So now, when we sit in meditation, and the physiology of it, so we're breathing, so now the chemicals within the body are releasing, the glands are doing specific things, the nervous system is doing specific things, everything is doing something specific, because of the breathing is going to a conscious, rhythmic state, which is stimulating relaxation. And that physiology is now then organizing the brain in a very specific way, which is authentic, which is true to who you are in that moment in time. And we keep revisiting that quality of space. So we have to remember that the brain organizes itself within the emotions, or with aid of the emotion and with aid of thought. So if we go to the place in between where there's no activity of thought and where there's no activity of emotion, the brain's going to organize like that. You see what I mean? Which is pretty magical. So at once it's organized because of a thought, and it gets caught in a loop, and it's just like, it's stuck. Or it's an emotion, or it's in between, where it's just simplifying. Does this make sense? Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's right. That's right. Mm-hmm. Well, my immediate answer is really two. One is consistency is always best. But in order to get to the consistency, we have to figure out what is the best combination for you. And every great technique, so there's many different techniques. I teach a specific technique. Many people have techniques, but every great technique is aiding in the development of what is the perfect method of you getting into your meditation. So we have to do a little bit of exploratory. So you sit in your meditation and you can use now, let's say, the axis of the body. And maybe the axis of the body works really well for you, but for someone else it doesn't. So then we can use the axis of the breath, which you were talking about, or the axis of the mind. But once we hit that, once we find, okay, well, this is the access point that works best for me, then you must stay consistent with it so that you develop a very strong pathway. And that pathway will then facilitate that of the breath and that of the body, or vice versa. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So it's both. You're correct. Mm-hmm. Any other questions? We should do a little sit then. Bookending, we want to bookend. So the best way to promote healthy meditation practice is to bookend. Morning and night. Morning, night. When you wake up, have a little routine, whatever it is that you do, and then sit. And then in the evening, have a little routine, and then sit. And now remember, that's the little quiet part inside that says, I really want to meditate. And then the loud one is, I think I want to just watch a movie. Or, I wonder if my boyfriend or girlfriend is available. Like, there's all kinds of stuff which occurs. Am I incorrect? I am correct. I know it. Because I also have a body and I also have a mind. I am in the same boat. We're all rowing it together. I have the tracksuit. And maybe I could offer a website where you guys could get the same tracksuit. That might facilitate the deepening of your meditation. You never know. So then every evening and every morning you put on the tracksuit. Hajia is like, yes. But so the little quiet one, and correct me if I'm wrong, is saying, okay, we really need to, it's time. We're going to really hone the skill of meditation. That's the quiet one. And that voice, that space is the consistent voice of reason throughout your entire life, believe it or not. It's the consistent one. So what that means is every time you go into your meditation, you're actually sitting with the mechanism that's going to take you to the point of where you wish to be. And this is very exciting. So please close your eyes. And for a moment, let's just simply relax into the experience of your body. Finding comfort there, relaxation, and make that the base of your meditation. Notice if the mind wishes to distract you away from that sensation of comfort and relaxation. and use the strength of your concentration to maintain a connection. And now, while maintaining the connection into the body, become aware of the breath as it enters into your body. There is a sensation that is connected to your in and out breath. And that sensation is an aid to your developing meditation. We want to invite the sensation of your breathing to enter into the most subtle levels of the body. Allowing your breath to be very natural in and out. Some of you are taking deep breaths. Some of you are taking very soft breaths. Allowing the awareness to maintain. Let's also accept the quality of space that you see with your mind. Once again, using your concentration to see the space between your thought. And the space between thought gives you access into an expanded form of concentration, being able to see the entire spectrum of experience within the mind as it is right now in this moment. Seeing the mind as it is now within this moment. Not as a thought or an emotion, but as it is, as itself. And now quite naturally as we sit, the space of the body, the space of the breath, and the space of the mind begin to lose their individual stance. Of course, you may feel one more than the other, but over time, they lose their individuality and begin to work as one quality of space. And within that unified quality of space, we are able to recharge, regaining balance, regaining strength, regaining understanding and perspective. We begin to sit with the very mechanism of creation. Which manifests our reality. Keeping the eyes closed, let's bring full deep breaths into the body. Keeping the eyes closed, bring your gaze to the point just there in front of you and slightly up. And you'll find a comfortable gazing point. Hone your attention just there. We want to maintain this quality of space that you see and feel, which is uninterrupted by any other thought. Keeping the eyes closed, soften your gaze. And very gently, very slowly allow the eyes to open. So there was definitely one moment within that meditation where you said, yeah, that's it. Maybe it's even a split second. But that's all we need to build on. Others of you, there was prolonged moments in time. The objective is to visit that place as many times as you possibly can throughout a 24-hour day. As many times as you possibly can. So whenever we get the opportunity, maybe it's just closing the eyes, or maybe you can do it with your eyes open, taking a few deep breaths, or maybe you can be the one that just relaxes your body and you're there. However it is that you maintain connection, you should do it as many times as possible throughout the day. Because remember, it's the consistency. So if we're talking about organization of the brain, to click it over into a heightened state which you want to be in, it just takes time. You got to do it again, over and over and over again, until it becomes second nature, and then you won't even think about it anymore. But then you'll move on to the next thing, again. And what it's coming down to is 3 simple words: be yourself. Being yourself. That's all it is. We're just being ourselves. So what is that? To be yourself. Can you show me? Show me being yourself? It looks like this. Go. There it is. There's a smile. Like that. And we just keep doing it again and again and again. And you'll catch yourself when you're no longer being yourself. You're being some modified form or a patterned version of. And then that's the time where you can say, oh, wait a minute. I need to break that pattern. So to break the pattern is to simply inhale, exhale. So I'm talking about on a 24-hour day, but the microcosm of that and the real training ground is when you're in your meditation. Becoming tuned to when you're being yourself and when you're being the patterned, modified form of that. And once you are the patterned, modified form of that, what do? Do you drop it by relaxing your body? Do you drop it by taking a deeper breath? Do you drop it by focusing the attention of your mind? How do you do that? And each and every one of you has a unique way within that combination, body, breath, mind, because that's all we got. We got a body, we have a breath, and we have a mind. So we've just narrowed down the scope tremendously, which is really good. And if we can understand what is the trigger that will drop it, then we become consistent. And as soon as we become consistent, the meditation starts to really take off. Yeah? So if you have any questions, or even if you have challenges, save it for Wednesday. And I'll see you then. Thank you very much. Namaste.